Okay, so once again, we're going to chapter 6, still in the book of Exodus here. And we're going to start at verse 6, and it read, "Wherefore say unto the children of Yasharal," which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians of Negroid descent, right? "I am the Most High Power," which is all caps, right? "And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage," all right? So just as the Most High did in the first Egypt, he's going to do it in the second Egypt, right? So that's like a shot towards so-called brethren and sisters in this faith who's claiming the faith, saying that we have to flee so-called spiritual Babylon, right? In literal Babylon, right? We have to go back to the homeland to save ourselves, right? But you don't have a belief in Hamashiach. You don't believe that he's going to be sent back to redeem us, right? This is the reason why you're fleeing and going to other places thinking that you're going to have refuge from your bondage, man, right? But just as it says in the book of Job 9:24, the whole earth is given onto the hand of the wicked, right? So where you're going to go, right? Wherever you go, you're going to be oppressed and hated, man, right? So this is why the Most High says this, "And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments," meaning he's going to bring these places down, man, right? Verse 7, "And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a power, and ye shall know that I am the Most High your God," which is the Most High your power, "which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians," man, right? So only the Most High can redeem you from this situation our people are in, man, right? Verse 8, "And I will bring you onto the land concerning which I did swear to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob," which is Jacob, the 12 tribes, "and I will give it you for an heritage. I am the Most High Power." Verse 9, "And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moses for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage," right? So just as Moses is given the word from the Most High to speak unto the children of Israel back then, the Most High is giving us the word through Hamashiach to speak unto our people today, but a lot of them choose not to hearken because of the what? The anguish of spirit, spiritual warfare, right? The charagma being pushed, making people sick, killing people, right? Cruel bondage, right? You're working 14, 15 hours a day on your job, right? Making chump change, right? Your owner of the company you work for is laughing all the way to the bank while you're going all the way to the bill place to pay your water bill, your light bill, your rent bill, right? Your car insurance, right? If you have a car, right? So this is what's going on, man. This is cruel bondage and anguish of spirit, man. You can't even sleep at night, right? You got spiritual warfare, got haters doing witchcraft on you, wicked witchcraft, right? So this is the anguish of spirit, man. This is why our people don't want to hearken on to the men of the Most High, man, right? Let's go to chapter 7, still in the book of Exodus. And I'm going to start at verse 1, and it read, "And the Most High said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh," right? "And Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet," right? So notice when he said Moses as a god, he said lowercase g, right? So we are the gods, man. We're not God himself as an uppercase G, but we are gods, right? Verse 1 or verse 2, Salakia. "Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his hand." Verse 3. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. Okay, so as it says here, the Most High said, I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, right? So, just like I said before, earlier in my video, it's the Most High who's doing this. He's hardening the hearts, man. Not Pharaoh himself. He's not doing it according to his own will and his own spirit. He's doing it because the Most High himself is hardening the hearts, man. Right? So this is the test that he's giving Moses and Aaron, right? He's telling Moses and Aaron what exactly to say to the children of Israel and to Pharaoh to warn him of the destruction that the Most High is going to bring upon Egypt if you don't lighten up or let the children of Israel go. And then the Most High said, I'm going to harden the heart of Pharaoh, right? So just like he's doing today, he's hardening the heart of your so-called supervisor or your boss that's telling you that you can't keep Passover off. You can't keep the Sabbath off. You have to work, right? And then you deceive yourself saying, oh, well, we're in bondage. We are in captivity, so we can't keep the Most High's laws as we would like to. So, let's just go ahead and go to work, right? But it's the Most High testing you, man, to see what you're going to do. He's going to see if you're truly serving him with a willingness of heart and spirit, man, right? You got to get a backbone, right? And then the Most High is going to see that, and he's going to reward that. And then when you do that, what you think he's going to do to your supervisor or boss? He's going to lighten up that spirit that he put in him from the get-go to harden himself towards you, to tell you that you can't take those days off, just to see what you're going to do, man, right? So just like I said before, if you believe that the Most High is in control of all things and he's the creator of all things and he gave us all a spirit, then don't you believe that he also can control the spirit of your so-called supervisor or boss, in which he's hardening the heart of to tell you, no, you can't take Sabbath and Passover off, right? So you can't excuse one thing and just believe the other, man. You got to believe all things, right? So if you truly believe in the Most High, then you will believe that this is just a test, just to see how you're going to respond to it, right? If you're going to truly serve the Most High, or if you're going to serve the oppressor, okay? And if you choose to serve the oppressor, then you're going to continue to serve the oppressor, all right? So this is what the Most High is doing, man, with your so-called supervisor and your boss, man. He's just hardening the heart to tell you that you can't take these days off, just as he did Pharaoh, man. So if you're going to believe the scripture, you got to believe all of the scripture, man. You just can't believe one part, and then for the other part, you're going to excuse and say, oh, well, we're in captivity. No, you can't do that, man, right? You got to be all the way in this right here, right? In continuation. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. Verse 5. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Most High Power, which I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them, man, right? Let's jump down to verse 13. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as the Most High have said. Okay, who's the he? That's the Most High. Once again, he hardened the Pharaoh's heart, man, right? So this, like I said before, this is all doings of the Most High, right? Just to see who you're truly going to serve. Are you going to serve me like how you claim to be serving? Or you're going to serve the powers that shouldn't be, right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 5. And we're going to read verse 2. And it reads, or if a soul touch anything or any unclean thing, as is written here, whether it be a carcass or an unclean beast, or a carcass of unclean cattle, or the carcass of unclean creepy things, and it be hidden from him, he also shall be unclean and guilty. All right, so of course, our people are going to be celebrating so-called Easter Sunday. And what you think they're going to be doing? They're going to have that Easter Sunday's ham up in there. They might even have a little bit of shrimp up in there, some lobster tails, some king crab legs up in there, some snow crabs, right? All of that is an abomination to the Most High, man. And this is what our people are going to be eating, right? So right here, you're going to be unclean and guilty to the Most High, man. Not only for serving so-called Estoreth, which is Easter Sunday, but you're going to be eating all of those unclean things, man, right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16. And we're going to jump down to verse 26. And it reads, thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors. Okay, who's the who that's being spoken about here? That's the Israelites, okay, the so-called 2/3 of our people, right? Committing spiritual fornication and physical fornication with the Egyptians, right? Great of flesh, and hast thou increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. All right, so we're provoking the Most High to anger by the sins we do, man. Who's the Egyptians today? The place where we're at now, spiritual Egypt, right? Our people are committing spiritual fornication and physical fornication, right? Which is promoting and provoking the Most High to anger, right? They're forgetting all about the Feast of Unleavened Bread with the Passover and celebrating 40 days of Lent, 40 days of Ramadan, right? So-called Good Friday. And then right after that, Estoreth, which is Easter. This is provoking the Most High to anger, man, right? Verse 27. Behold, therefore, I have stretched out my hand over thee, and have diminished thy ordinary food, and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee, the daughters of the Philistines, which are ashamed of thy lewd way. Who's the Philistines? That's the descendants of the Canaanites, right? Verse 28. Thou hast played the whore also with the Assyrians, okay, which is the Edomites, because thou wast unacceptable. Yea, thou hast played the harlot with them, which is basically a whore or spiritual whore, and yet couldst not be satisfied. So this is what our people are doing, man. After all of the sins that they're doing today, they still not satisfied. They still don't want to turn to the Most High, right? Verse 29. Thou, moreover, multiplied thy fornication in the land of Canaan unto Chaldea, right? Which is modern day Canaan here, right? That's the reason why it's called American, right? Even in the Caribbean, you have Jamaican, you have the Mexican or the Mexican, right? You have Puerto Rican, right? Dominican, okay? All of these places have can at the end of it, right? As a reminder of these were the lands of the Canaanites back in the day. You even have Canada, right? All of those names have can in it. It's a reason why, man. And you can't say, oh, well, America is a different name. Well, America is named after Amerigo Vespucci, okay? And then even our continent, which is Africa, which is named after Scipio Africanus or Scipio Africanus, right? So all of those names is named after ancient Greco-Roman conquerors, right? And explorers, so to speak. But there's a reason why there's a can after all of these lands here, man. Right? Just like I said, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Dominican. The only thing that doesn't have a can is Haiti, right? And then you have the Mexican, Canada, American, right? All of these cans, right? So that's something to think about, man. South American, right? So this is the land of Canaan also, man. Thou hast moreover multiplied thy fornication in the land of Canaan unto Chaldea, and yet thou wast not satisfied. Verse 30. How weak is thy mind, which is the heart written here, saith the Lord power. Seeing that thou doest these things, the work of an imperious, whorish woman, man. So this is what we're known as, the imperious, whorish women, man, right? In continuation, let's go back to the book of St. Matthew, chapter 15. And we're going to start at verse 11. And it read, Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man or woman, but that which cometh out of the man, this defileth a man. All right, so this is the doctrine that a lot of so-called church pastors love to use when they want to have an excuse to eat something that's biblically unclean, like your pork, your shellfish, your catfish, right? But this isn't talking about anything that's physical, right? This is talking about something that's spiritual, something that's mental, right? You know, whatever you eat is not going to defile you spiritually, although it will, but it's how you think, it's how you talk, it's your dialect, right? What's coming from your spirit is what defile you. Like, you could be someone who's eating biblically clean foods, but you could still have a defiled mind, right? You can still be a hater in your heart of your own brethren and sister, right? So that's what this is referring to, man. This isn't really solely referring to food, you know, to justify yourself eating that Tammuz ham on Easter. This is a spiritual thing, man, right? If you go up to verse 1, you know, it reads, Then came Hamashiach, scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, Salakia, tradition? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. All right. So basically, this is how they perceiving things. They think if you're clean on the outside, then automatically it's going to make you clean on the inside, but that's not so, right? Verse 3, But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of the Most High by your tradition? Right? So the Most High is like, yo, through Hamashiach, you're saying that I'm transgressing your tradition by not washing my hands, but you're transgressing the Most High's tradition. You claim to be a Pharisee and a scribe and a Sadducee. You're not properly keeping the laws of the Most High, right? So that's what that's about, man. This is what they was questioning Hamashiach, right? And if you jump down to verse 12, it says, Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father have not planted shall be rooted up. Verse 14. Let them alone. They be blind leaders leading the blind, right? So this isn't talking about in a physical sense. This is talking about in a spiritual sense. The spiritual eye is blind. The third eye, the pineal gland, right? The way to communicate with the Most High through the Spirit. All right. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Verse 15. Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. Verse 16. And Hamashiach said, are ye also yet without understanding? Like, Hamashiach's like, yo, man, you've been hanging out with me this whole entire while, and now you trying to tell me that you don't even understand this right here, right? Verse 17. Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the draught? So Hamashiach is saying whatever goes into your mouth and through the belly, it's going to naturally come out of you anyway after your body finished using it up, right? Verse 18. But those things which proceeded out of the mouth coming forth from the heart, and they defile the man. All right. So whatever comes out of your mouth, man, right? It's not solely talking about, oh, if you're eating unclean foods, you're going to be okay. Because the Most High have given us laws about the dietary law that we should keep, right? But he's saying, in a sense of someone trying to portray something that they're not, if they try to portray someone who's holier than thou, and they really not, because they a hater in their heart. You know, they a so-called two-third, they a natural born sinner, right? They accept living unrighteously, right? Or how they speak, their dialect, how they talk, right? How they slander people, okay? You know, they bring down other people to make themselves seem like they're up, right? Verse 19. For out of the heart, which is your mind, proceedeth evil thoughts, murderers, adulteries, fornications, theft, false witness, and blasphemies, all right? All of the bad things that our people have problems with, man, right? Verse 20. These are the things which defileth a man or woman, but to eat with unwashen hands defileth not a man. So he's saying even if you eating with your hands dirty, that can't defile your mind. You know what I'm saying? Because you already have a mind of righteousness, but you might be in a situation where you can't wash your hands. You're unable to wash your hands. But if you're able to eat, go ahead and eat. But that's not going to defile your mind and spirit because you're already righteous, right? But, you know, that's the scripture that so-called churchgoers love to use, you know, to justify themselves eating unclean foods, man, right? In continuation, we're going to go to Psalm chapter 96 in reference to what's spoken here, right? Okay, so here we go here, Psalm 96. Okay, maybe I pressed the wrong thing here. Let me see something. Okay, there we go. That's what we want. All right, we're in the book of Psalm 96. And let's start at verse 4, and it read, for the Most High is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all lowercase gods, right? Verse 5. For all the lowercase gods of the nations are what are idols, okay? Your so-called Muhammad in Islam is an idol, right? Your Fuchsius is an idol, right? Your Krishna, Madhava, Shiva in Hinduism is idols. Buddha in Buddhism is idol. Your so-called Caesarea Borgia and Virgin Mary in Roman Catholicism and religious Christianity, idols, right? In continuation. But the Most High Power, all caps, made the heavens. Verse 6. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Verse 7. Give unto the Most High, O ye kindreds of the people. What people? The children of Israel, man, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians of Negroid descent, man, right? Give unto the Most High Power, all caps, glory and strength. Verse 8. Give unto the Most High Power the glory due unto his name. bring a what? An offering, and come into his courts. Okay, what's that offering? Passover and unleavened bread. And then 50 days after that, you're going to have your feast of first fruits, and then your Pentecost, and then you're going to have your Day of Atonement, and then you're going to have your blowing of trumpets, and then you're going to have your Feast of Tabernacle. Okay, those are your offerings that you give on to the Most High, man, right? Let's go back to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9. And we're going to start at verse 3. And it reads, and the glory of the Most High power of Yasharah was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's ink on by his side. Verse 4. And the Most High power said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, okay, through Jerusalem, the people, right? And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, man. So this is what the purpose of the Passover angel of the Most High is going to do for the children of Israel, man, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians of Negro descent, the ones who's crying and sighing for all of the abominations that done thereof. He's going to set a mark upon our foreheads, because that mark is from serving the Most High. And then he's going to do whatever he will with the willful sinners of Israel, right? As it says here, and to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have pity. All right. Verse 6, slay utterly old and young, maid and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. The mark of what? The mark of the Most High, of serving him, right? So this is also letting you know that the Most High don't discriminate. He don't care if you young, old. He don't care if you a baby. He don't care if you a woman, like how they do in this society. If you're not serving the Most High and you're serving sin, then the Most High is going to deal with you, right? Begin at my sanctuary, which is my people. Then they begin at the ancient men, which were before the house, right? Which was the older men, right? So the Most High is not going to spare this because you're 70, 80, 90 years old. If you're in sin and you're not serving him, the Most High is going to deal with you, and he's going to deal with you first, right? In continuation, let's go back to the book of Exodus, chapter 24. And we're going to go to verse 9. And it read, then went up Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of the elders of Israel. Verse 10. And they saw the Most High power of Israel, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of the heaven of his clearness, or in his clearness. What's that speaking about? That's speaking about the firmament, so to speak, right? Which is clear, all right? And also the color of a sapphire, which is like a bluish color, right? Verse 11. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand, Also they saw the Most High power and did eat and drink. Verse 12. And the Most High said unto Moses, or Moshe, come up to me onto the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. Okay. Verse 13. And Moses rose up, and his minister Yeshua, which is Joshua, and Moses went up into the mount of the Most High power, which is Mount Sinai, right? Verse 14. And he said unto the elders, tarry ye here for us until we come again unto you, and behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them, which is Aaron and Hur, right? Verse 15. And Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount. And the glory of the Most High power abode upon the Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. Right? So there you go. You have 6 days of work, and then you have the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day, which is the learning and teaching of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, is when he spoke with Moses, man, right? Verse 17. And the sight of the glory of the Most High power was like a devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel, right? So there had to be a sight to see, man. That was like a fearful sight. Like imagine you standing beside a big, tall mountain like Mount Everest or Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Or any other tall mountain, right? Or Mount Fuji, whatever you want to call it, right? And then you see a big, huge, dark cloud that's covering that whole mountain. And there's lightnings, there's very loud thunder. Like I ain't talking about no thunder. I'm talking about like boom, pow, boom, boom, boom. This thunder, this crazy loud, right? And then you have lightning just striking down all over the place, man. Right? That's how that was, man. Right? That's why the children of Israel were scared to talk to the Most High, because when they seen that, they said, no, Moses, no. I don't want to talk to him. I will let you talk to him. I want you to talk to him instead. I don't want to go near that mountain, right? So that's why I said that. And in the sight of the glory of the Most High power was like a devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel, verse 18. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud, right? And gat him up on the mount, and Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so there it is. That's your 40 days and 40 nights gematria right there, right? But that was for Moses. That wasn't for the children of Israel, right? So there's no reason why we should be keeping 40 days of Lent, man, right? Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 1. Okay, so here we go. We're in the book of Daniel, chapter 1. And I was going to get straight to the point, but you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 1. And it read, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, or Yehuda, came Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, onto Jerusalem and besieged it, meaning that, Nebuchadnezzar came and conquered Babylon and besieged and enslaved Jerusalem, right? Verse 2. And the Most High power gave Jehoiakim, the king of Yehuda, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of the Most High power, which he carried into the land of Shinar, which is the land of Canaan, to the house of his God, which is a lowercase g, and he brought the vessels into the treasures of the house of his God. Okay, the vessels is the people, of course, right? So that's when Nebuchadnezzar besieged and captured and enslaved the children of the southern kingdom, right? And the vessels is symbolic for you, the people, the bodies, right? The souls, so to speak. Verse 3. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. Right? The king's seed was of King Jehoiakim, right? Verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, okay? Remember that? But well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge and understanding science, meaning that they understood the other doctrines of the other nations as well, right? And such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Verse 5. A daily provision of the king's meat. Okay, now today the king's meat will be considered the diet of this place here, right? And of the wine which he drank, right? Now this could be in a literal or metaphorical sense. It could be literal wine or it could be doctrine, right? So nourishing them 3 days, there's that number 3 again, right? That at the end thereof, therefore they might stand before the king. Verse 6. Now among these were the children of Yehuda or Yahweh, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Verse 7. Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and unto Hananiah of Shadrach, and unto Mishael of Meshach, and unto Azariah Abednego. Verse 8. And Daniel purposed, okay, here's the kicker, and Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not, what, defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine he drank, right? Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Okay, verse 9. See, now a lot of people think that that dietary law is something minor, man, but this is major right here, right? You have Daniel himself, okay, a son of God also, saying that I'm not going to defile myself with the meats and the foods of Babylon, man, right? And which we should be doing here in spiritual Babylon, right? Now the Most High Power had brought Daniel into favor, okay? Now listen what it says here. Now the Most High Power had brought Daniel into favor in tender love with the prince of the eunuchs, right? The Babylonian, right? So this, as in the Egyptians, it says the Most High controlled the Pharaoh and hardened his heart. He can also lighten his heart, right? Just like with here, the Most High controlled the spirit of the eunuchs, the prince of the eunuchs, right? So he gave Daniel loving favor from the prince of the eunuchs, right? It wasn't because the prince of the eunuchs chose to do it himself. It's because the Most High done that, man, right? So in continuation, Salakia. In continuation. Verse 10. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who have appointed your meat, right? Which is lowercase l, by the way, right? And lowercase k. And your drink, for why should he see your faces worse likened than the children which art of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king, right? So the prince of the eunuch is telling Daniel, like, yo, if you don't eat this food that the king told me to appoint you, then you're going to have my life in danger. And then on top of that, if you don't eat our meat, you're going to be looking worse than how you came in here, right? So this is what they say, and this is what they do today. They think that the so-called American diet is the best diet of all, right? Your so-called keto diet, right? They think that that's the best diet, but it have nothing on a Mediterranean diet, which is the Judean diet, man. That's the biblical diet. But the keto diet, you can cheat. Okay, you can eat abominable things, man. You can eat GMOs, right? You can eat soy, right, which is detrimental to your health, and all of these other abominable things, man, right? But with the Judean diet, that Mediterranean diet, you can't eat none of that stuff. It's a very strict diet, which is the biblical diet, right? But the prince of the eunuchs, he's telling Daniel, like, yo, if you have this keto diet, you're going to look way better than how you came in here. And if you don't, you're going to look worse, right? But this is what Daniel said, right? Then said Daniel unto Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Verse 12. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Verse 13. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants. Verse 14. So he consented to them in this matter and approved them 10 days. Verse 15. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenances appear fairer, okay, and fatter in the flesh than all the children which did eat the portions of the king's meat, right? So right here in verse 15, which is the kicker also, it said Daniel, okay, and Hananiah and Mishael and Azariah, they looked way better than all of the people that was eating the proportioned king's meat. All right, so this dietary law is very important, man, right? If you keep the Most High's laws, even in Islam, I'm going to use that as an excuse, right? Or not an excuse, but, as an example. A lot of those guys, I'm going to say, they look pretty good. And the women, their skin looks very good. You know what I'm saying? It's no marks all over their skin. It's very fair, no bumps all over the place. And you know why? That's because they keep in a very strict dietary law, right? Now, ultimately, the heavenly father of Islam, which is Ishmael, his heavenly father is the Most High, right? But they don't believe in the Savior. They believe in Muhammad, okay? But they still follow the dietary law. Okay, although they have faults in it, and it's in the Quran itself that, if you're in dire needs, you can eat abominable things to save yourself. But Hamashiach himself said, he whom saved himself is not worthy of the kingdom. You have to give your life for this truth here. If you're faced in that situation, then of course, as I've been mentioning, the Most High controls all things. He knows what you're going through. So he put you in that situation just to see what you're going to do. So if you're going to try to save yourself and eat an abominable pig or an abominable camel or an abominable hare, which is a bunny, in which they do in Islam, then you're not worthy of the kingdom. All right. So I can get that much to them. A lot of them have fair skin. And also the brothers and sisters of our faith. You know what I'm saying? The ones who've been in for a while, the ones who haven't just came out of the world. The ones who've been in for a while, their skin is very beautiful and vibrant and lively too, and that's all from the glory of the Most High of keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments, man, just as it says here in verse 13. All right. So that dietary law is important, man. And let's go to the book of Leviticus in reference to this. So it's just more than not eating pork, not eating shellfish, not eating catfish, right? Or, eating pork, shellfish, or catfish byproducts, man. You got to do your due diligence. You got to do a severe research on how these things are secretly added into food. So this because you're not literally eating a piece of ham or shellfish or catfish doesn't mean that you're not eating it in other foods, man. Right? So here we go. We're in the book of Leviticus, chapter 11. And these are the dietary laws, right? And we're going to start at verse 1, and it reads, And the Most High spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the who? The children of Israel, right? Saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth, all right? So right here, the Most High is giving us permission to eat meat. You know, for all of you so-called vegans out there, you're really not vegetarians, because vegetarians are born vegans, right? A vegan is just someone who made a choice not to eat meat, but a pure vegetarian is someone who naturally can't eat meat, man, right? Verse 3, Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth not the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Okay, so he's giving us, once again, another reiteration on the beef that we can eat, right? Verse 4, Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that cheweth the cud, or of them that divided the hoof, as the camel. Okay, so that's strike one for Islam, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is what? Unclean unto you, you Muslims, right? Verse 5, And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. All right. Right here, for all of the so-called Christians who's going to be keeping so-called Easter ham Sunday, right? And for more of the Muslims, verse 6, And the hare, which is the bunny, right? That's strike two for Islam, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. Verse 7, And what? The swine, which is pig, right? Though he divideth the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. Okay, now for those who may not be aware of what swine truly means, there was a picture that I took a picture of, you know, about the so-called super pigs that's in Canada, you know, that's supposed to be spreading rapidly, and they supposed to be invading the northern west part or midwest part of the United States. So they think that that's a problem, but that's a natural occurring thing, man, right? You know, the pigs, the Most High put the pigs here to clean the land. So, you know, this because you're not dealing with them, you know, and they're not your ordinary pigs, you know, your hybrid pigs that you have over here, that's pink or whatever. You think that those so-called hogs or wild hogs or pigs over there are deemed super pigs because they're not vaccinated, or they're not jabbed up, or they're not hybrided, or, you know, genetically modified over and over again as yours, right? So as it says here in verse 7, you know, the pigs are called the swine, right? Let me see if I can find that picture for you. Okay, so as you can see here, it says feral swine expansion in Canada, right? Fight to stop Canadian super pigs, quotation on quotation, right, from invading the United States, right? And then right here, you can have where it's at, supposedly, okay? And when you look at that part of Canada, it's like above the north Midwest part of the United States, where like North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, around those areas, right? Minnesota. Okay, so this is where they're supposedly invading the United States, right? And they call them the super pig. But that's just a regular pig, man. You know what I'm saying? But this is what the United States deemed them, because they're not their hybrid pigs like they have over here, these pink pigs, right? So that's swine, as it says here, feral swine. That's what they are. The swine is the pig. Okay. So here we are. We're back in the book of Leviticus, chapter 11. And as it says one more time in verse 7, And the swine, though he divideth the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. All right. Let's jump down to verse 23. And it reads, but all other flying creepy things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. Verse 24. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until even. Okay. So this is referring to all of the fowls, all of the birds in the air that unfortunately our people think is food too. Like, you have the swan, the pelican, the owl, you have the ducks. Okay. You have the ostrich, right? Some of our people like to eat ostrich. They say that it tastes like beef and chicken together. What kind of sickness and craziness is that, right? You eating the ostrich egg, right? Which is eggs itself is unclean onto you because that's the fetus, right? It's undeveloped. So you're not even supposed to be eating eggs, man, right? So you got a lot of our people, even in the faith, they don't even know about that. You're not even supposed to be eating eggs, okay? So all of this stuff is referring to all of the fowls that we're not supposed to be eating, right? The roast duck, okay, you get from your local South Korean restaurant, your Japanese restaurant, right? Your Taiwanese, okay? And then in continuation with this right here. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until even. Okay, so that's letting you know that at even also, it's considered a brand new day, the start of a brand new day at even, sundown, right? Verse 25. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until even. Verse 26. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof and is not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean. Verse 27. And whosoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all 4, those are unclean unto you. Who touches their carcass shall be unclean unto evening, which is sunset. So, and whosoever or whatsoever go upon his paws, all right, it didn't say feet, or it didn't say, your, like any other animal, like your bullock have, right? It didn't say anything like that. It said the paws. So, if it's referring to paws, what kind of animal have paws, right? You have your lions, your tigers, your cougars, right? You have your mountain cats, okay? You have your wolves, your dogs, all right, in which they eat in other countries. They eat those things freely, man, right? Dogs and stuff like that. You have your rabbits, your bunnies, they have paws. Okay, everything that have paws, you're not supposed to be eating, man, right? You're supposed to eat the animals with the hoof, okay? You have your bullocks, which is your bull, your ox, where you get your oxtail from, okay? Your goats, which have hoofs. Your sheep, of course, right? The primary choice animal, okay? Those animals have hoofs. Those are the clean animals, man. Not anything with paws on it, right? So this dietary law is serious, man, right? Let's continue and go to the book of Exodus once again, chapter 15. And we're going to start at verse 1. And this is all about serving the Most High with gladness, man, right? Keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments and his ordinances, right? Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Most High Power, saying, I will sing unto the Most High Power, for he have triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider have he thrown into the sea. Who's that speaking about? That's speaking about the ancient Egyptians, right? So this is actually a prayer, just like King David in the book of Psalm 121, right? Just like Hamashiach in the book of St. Matthew, chapter 6, okay, or St. Luke 5, right? The Most High Power is my strength and song, and he is become my salvation. He is my power, and I will prepare him a habitation, my father's power, and I will exalt him. Who's the father of Moses? Okay, Levi. All right. Moses is out of the tribe of Levi. Who is Levi? He's the son of Jacob, which is Yaakov. Okay, the 12 tribes of Israel, which is the so-called Negro, Hispanics, Native American, and Seminole Indians of Negroid descent, right? Verse 3. The Most High Power is a man of war. The Most High Power is his name, all right? Verse 4. Pharaoh's chariots and his hosts have he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. Verse 5. The depths have covered them. They sink into the bottom as a stone, right? Just as they say, right? You swim just like a rock. You sink just like a stone, right? Verse 6. Thy right hand, O Lord, okay, who's on the right hand of the Most High? That's Hamashiach, right? It's become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, has dashed in pieces the enemy. Verse 7. In the greatness of thine excellency, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sent forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. Verse 8. And with the blast, the water were gathered together, the floods stood upright as an heap, and the depth was congleaned in the heart of the sea. Verse 9. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. That's the children of Israel, right? When they was escaping the Egyptian military. I will draw my sword, and hand shall destroy them, right? So that was the Pharaoh's purpose. He was to bring us back into captivity and spoil us and destroy us. Pursue us, overtake us, and divide the spoil, right? Verse 10. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them, they sank as lead, right? Which is lead that's in guns, right? In the mighty waters. Verse 11. Who is like unto thee, O power, among the gods, all right? The lowercase g. Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders, man, right? So this is a prayer of Moses, man, right? Verse 12. Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. Okay. Verse 14. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Okay, which is Palestine. All right. Then what? The dukes of Edom. All right. Dukes. All right. That sounds familiar. So that should let you know who the Edomites are, right? Shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them, and all the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Verse 16. Fear and dread shall fall upon them by the greatness of thy arm. They shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over. Pass over what? Okay, the land. All right. Now this is talking about the Red Sea, because we pass through the Red Sea, but passing over it is the wilderness, the land, right? When we was passing through the Dukes of Edom and Moab, right? Who was preventing us, by the way. O power, till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Verse 17. and purchase in this sense is saved, right, from the land of Egypt. Thou shalt bring in, or bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of thy inheritance, which the mountain of thy inheritance, that's the land of Yasharal, right? And the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. Verse 18. The Most High Power shall reign forever and ever. Verse 19. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and the Most High Power brought again the waters of the sea, which is the Red Sea, by the way, upon them. But the children of Yasharal went on dry land in the midst of the sea. Verse 20. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambrel, which is the tambourine in modern day terms, right? And her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambrels and with dances, right? Verse 21. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Most High Power, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. Who's the horse and his rider? That's the Pharaoh and his horse and their army and their chariots, right? So that's singing a song unto the Most High for what he did for the children of Israel coming out of the first Egypt. So that goes to show that this is actually also a time of celebration for what the Most High did for the children of Israel, right? So we're going to go to the book of Romans, chapter 6. And I'll probably end that there. All right. And I'm going to go down to verse 9, and it reads, Knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more, death have no more dominion over him. All right. So this is saying that when Christ gave up the Holy Spirit, you know, he don't have to worry about dying anymore because he already died, right? For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he lived unto the Most High Power, right? Sin was his body. Our flesh is sin naturally. Our spirit warreth against the flesh, okay? Verse 11. Likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto the Most High Power through Hamashiach, Christ our ruler, our king, right? So this is what we are. We're dead to sin. We're not serving the world no more. We're not keeping so-called Good Friday, 40 days of Lent, right? 40 days of Ramadan, right? And then we're going to turn around and keep Good Friday and so-called Estoreth, Easter, right? So we're dead to that. We're not keeping the wicked, vain customs of the world, man, right? Verse 12. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. So don't let sin reign in your body, man. If you have the urge to keep Easter, keep Christmas, Thanksgiving, right? 4th of July, which is the 4th of July, Memorial Day. Memorial Day for what? What memorial, right? So this is you letting sin reign in your mortal body, man, right? And the lust is wanting to celebrate those days, right? Verse 13. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin. Okay, the members is your body, right? But yield yourselves unto the Most High Power as those that are alive from what? The dead, okay? The spiritually dead, right? And your members as instruments of righteousness unto the Most High Power. Basically, what I'm doing right now, I'm sacrificing and yielding my instruments onto righteousness, which is doing this video here, informing our people to come out of sin, right? Verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. Okay, so that's what that means when it says ye are not under the law, but under grace. See, a lot of so-called churchgoers like to take that one verse and read that and close the Bible. This is what they say. For ye are not under law, but under grace. And boom, shut the Bible. Right? No. But just as I read, if you go a few verses up, this is what this is referring to. If you die to the world, if you are dead to sins, okay, then, you're not under the law because you're already keeping the law. But if you're keeping the law, this is the Most High giving you time to make things right in long suffering to earn a place in his kingdom. Okay, so that's when it says, for ye not under the law, but under grace. That means that you're already keeping the law. So you're not going to be judged by the law because you're already keeping the law, right? And then you're under grace. That shows that the Most High, as it says in the scripture, he's watching over you. He's always watching over his servants. He's giving them grace. He's giving them strength, to carry on, basically, right? Verse 15. What then? Shall we sin? Okay, so this is the other verse that they just totally forget about. They read verse 14 and don't even look at 15, right? But what did Paul say in verse 15? What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law but under grace? What? The Most High forbid. Okay? So there you have it. All right? All you got to do is just read the very next verse, and it's going to tell you, if you should sin, it's because you're under grace. But Paul turns right around and says, no, you can't sin, right? This because you're under grace isn't a license to sin, man, right? So all you got to do is understand Paul. But a lot of our people don't understand Paul because they've been taught wrongfully, right? And plus they're not reading the OT, verse 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, right? So if you yield yourself to your so-called supervisor or your boss, that's because he tells you you have to come in and work for the Passover. You have to come in and work Sabbaths now, right? Then you yielding yourselves to obey your so-called oppressor, right? For his servants ye are to whom ye obey. So you're the servant of your so-called boss, right? Whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness, right? Question mark. But the Most High be thanked that ye were servants of sin, but ye have obeyed from the mind, which is the heart here, that form of doctrine. What's that form of doctrine? The keeping of the laws, statutes, and commandments, man, right? The first 5 books of basic instructions before leaving earth, right? Abbreviated for the Bible, right? Which was delivered you. Okay, who gave us the delivery of the word? Moses in the wilderness, man, right? Verse 18. Being then made free from sin, ye became the servants of what? Righteousness, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and ordinances of the Most High, right? Verse 19. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh, right? So Paul is like, well, it's because I know that you're new to this. You're not going to fully understand me. So, I'm asking you hypothetical questions just to see where your mind at, right? For as ye have yielded your members service to uncleanness and to iniquity, which is sin, unto iniquity, which is more sin, even so now yield your members servants to righteousness, unto holiness. All right. And how you do that? By keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You can start by keeping the Passover and unleavened bread, right? Not 40 days of Lent, not 40 days of Ramadan. All right. So there you have it, man. So this, like I said before early in the video, this is just my refresher of the Passover and my response to the so-called Christian who said that Christ is our Passover and we don't have to keep the ordinances anymore, right? So once again, hopefully that this video was edifying. Hopefully that it was enjoyable. To the next time, I say Ashar Pasak, which is happy Passover and unleavened bread, and Shalom.